Jose Mourinho speaks out, and every Manchester United fan needs to hear what he said about Michael Carrick. There is a moment in football when someone says exactly what you have been thinking, but could not quite put into words. Jose Mourinho just had one of those moments. And if you are a Manchester United fan who has been following the club's search for a new manager, what he said about Michael Carrick is going to sit with you for a long time. Mourinho did not hold back. He did not speak in riddles or give the usual safe answers that managers and pundits tend to give when they are trying not to upset anyone. He said what he believed, and what he believed is something that a growing number of people inside and outside Old Trafford are starting to agree with. Michael Carrick deserves more credit than he is getting, and Manchester United should think very carefully before they walk away from him. This blog post is going to break down everything Mourinho said, why it matters, what it means for Carrick, and what the bigger picture looks like for Manchester United right now. Grab a drink and settle in, because this is one of the more interesting conversations the club has sparked in a while. What did Mourinho actually say? Let us start with the words themselves, because they really are worth reading slowly. When a reporter asked Mourinho about Michael Carrick and whether his style of football could actually win trophies, Mourinho laughed. That laugh matters. It was not a dismissive laugh. It was the kind of laugh a man gives when he thinks the question has missed the point entirely. Then he spoke. He said that since Carrick arrived as a manager, the teams under him have beaten Arsenal, Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, and Aston Villa. He went through that list carefully and deliberately. He wanted every name to land. Then he asked the real question. If you beat the best teams, why can you not win trophies? He answered it himself straight away. He said that finals are not played against small teams. They are played against the best. So if you want to know whether a manager can win a final, look at whether they can beat the best teams, not the bottom half of the table, the actual best. Then he said something that really cuts through all the noise around United's manager search. He said that if he has to choose between a manager who beats small teams and a manager who beats big teams, he will always choose the one who beats big teams because that is what wins you finals. Read that again. That is Jose Mourinho, a man who has managed at the very highest level, who has won the Champions League, the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, and countless other trophies, saying in plain language that Michael Carrick is the kind of manager who wins finals. That is not nothing. That is a very big statement from a very credible voice. But Mourinho did not stop there. He also spoke about the broader problem at Manchester United when it comes to how they treat their managers. He said the problem with the club's management is that good managers keep getting sacked too early. He pointed to Mikel Arteta at Arsenal as the perfect example of what happens when you show patience. Arteta was given time, given chances, given the support he needed. And now he has built something that Arsenal fans are genuinely proud of. Then Mourinho asked the question that should be echoing around the boardroom at Old Trafford right now. Michael Carrick has proven himself twice. So why are they looking for a new manager? Why indeed? Who is Michael Carrick and why does this matter so much? To understand why Mourinho's words carry so much weight here, you need to understand who Michael Carrick is and what his relationship with Manchester United actually means. Carrick spent 12 years at Old Trafford as a player. He was not the flashiest name at the club during that time. He did not score the spectacular goals or make the highlight reel tackles that get replayed over and over on social media. What he did was hold everything together. He read the game at a level that very few players in the Premier League could match during his era. He was calm under pressure. He was intelligent. He was dependable. And perhaps most importantly for what comes next, he understood the club. He understood what it meant to wear the shirt and what it meant to play the right way at Manchester United. When he stepped into management, those same qualities came with him. He was not loud or dramatic about it. He did not come in making big speeches about a revolution. He just got to work. He organized his teams well. He got them playing a style that was thoughtful and disciplined, and the results started coming. The wins against big clubs that Mourinho listed are not flukes. They are the product of a manager who sets his team up properly, who gets the best out of his players, and who does not panic when the game is tight and the pressure is on. That is exactly what Manchester United need, and Mourinho knows it, which is why he said what he said. The Arteta comparison and what United can learn from Arsenal. One of the most interesting parts of what Mourinho said is the comparison he drew between Carrick and Mikel Arteta. It is a comparison worth sitting with for a moment because the lessons are really clear if you are willing to look at them honestly. When Arteta took over at Arsenal, not everyone was convinced. He had never managed a club before. He came in during a difficult period for Arsenal. Results were not immediate. There were moments of frustration. There were people calling for him to be replaced. But the club kept faith with him. They gave him time. They gave him the tools he needed. They let him build something. And look at Arsenal now. They have gone from a club that was fighting to stay relevant to a club that is genuinely competing at the top of the Premier League season after season. They have an identity. They have a style of play that is exciting and effective. They have a squad that believes in what they are doing. None of that happens without patience. None of that happens if Arsenal had done what so many clubs do and pulled the trigger the moment things got difficult. So when Mourinho looks at Manchester United's situation and says the problem is that they keep sacking good managers too early, he is not just talking about Carrick. He is talking about a habit that has been damaging United for years now. The number of managers who have come and gone since Sir Alex Ferguson retired is a long and painful list. And with each change, the club has had to start again. New ideas, new systems, new relationships, new everything. Meanwhile, Arsenal found their man and stuck with him, and now they are the ones challenging for titles while United are still searching. Does that not tell you something? The contract question. Where does Carrick stand? Now we get to the part that is making a lot of fans uneasy. The contract situation. The reports and discussions going around suggest that Carrick's future at Manchester United is not settled. There is talk of the club looking for a new manager rather than committing fully to what they have. There is uncertainty around whether a long-term deal will be offered and on what terms. And that uncertainty itself is a problem because uncertainty is not neutral in football. When a manager does not know whether the club believes in him long term, it affects everything. It affects how freely he can plan. It affects whether the players around him feel stable and settled. It affects the kind of conversations that happen behind closed doors. A manager who knows his club is behind him can make bold decisions. He can take risks in the market. He can set up a long-term project with real conviction. A manager who is not sure whether he will be there next season has to hedge. He has to think shorter, and that shorter thinking tends to produce shorter results. Manchester United cannot afford more short-term thinking. The damage done by years of managerial instability is real. You can see it in the squad. You can see it in the lack of a consistent identity when it comes to how the team plays. You can see it in the gap between where the club is and where it should be given the resources and the history and the name. Carrick represents a chance to stop that cycle. He knows the club. The club knows him. He has shown that he can win the big games. He has shown that he has the qualities to build something meaningful. The question is whether the people making decisions at Manchester United are going to see that clearly enough to do what needs to be done, which means offering a proper contract, which means giving him the backing he needs, which means committing to the kind of patience that turned Arsenal from also-rans into genuine contenders. What does Mourinho's support mean in practical terms? Some people might say that Mourinho is just talking, that he is an ex-manager sharing an opinion, and that his opinion does not change what happens in boardrooms. That is technically true, but it misses the point of why what he said matters. Jose Mourinho is one of the most respected football minds of the last 20 years. When he says something about a manager's qualities, people in football listen. Not all of them will agree, but all of them will pay attention. More than that, Mourinho managed Manchester United. He sat in the same chair that every United manager sits in. He dealt with the same pressures, the same expectations, the same weight of history. When he speaks about what the club needs and what kind of manager fits that role, he is speaking from experience that very few people can match. And he is saying clearly and loudly that Michael Carrick is the right person. That kind of public backing matters. It shapes the conversation. It gives supporters language to use when they are arguing for giving Carrick a proper chance. It puts pressure on decision makers to at least explain themselves if they are going to go in a different direction. Mourinho essentially said this out loud so that everyone could hear it. And now the question is whether Manchester United will listen. What Carrick himself brings to the table. Beyond what Mourinho said, it is worth just talking directly about what Carrick actually offers as a manager, because sometimes in all the noise around clubs and contracts and transfer windows, we forget to focus on the football itself. Carrick's teams are well organised. They press with purpose. They do not give up easy goals. They are competitive against teams that on paper should be much stronger. That list of results against Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs and Villa is genuinely impressive. Those are not easy wins. Those are wins that require your team to be well prepared, mentally strong and tactically sharp. Carrick achieves those things. He does it without drama. He does it without his name dominating the back pages for reasons that have nothing to do with football. He just quietly gets on with the job of making his team hard to beat and dangerous when they have the ball. That is what good management looks like at its core. Not all the noise around it, just results on the pitch built on good work off it. He also understands Manchester United specifically in a way that an outside appointment simply cannot. He played there for over a decade. He won titles there. He lost there too and had to fight back. He has experienced the full range of what it means to be part of this club. That experience is not something you can buy. It is not something you can replicate by hiring someone who has done well at another club in a different league. Carrick knows what it takes at Old Trafford, and right now, Manchester United needs someone who knows that. The bigger conversation about how United manage managers, it would be wrong to write a piece like this without addressing the broader pattern that Mourinho pointed to. Because the specific question of whether Carrick gets a contract extension is really just one chapter in a much longer story about how Manchester United have handled the managerial role since Sir Alex Ferguson left. The list of managers who have come through that door since Ferguson is long. Some of them were excellent managers elsewhere. Some of them were highly regarded across Europe. And almost all of them ended up leaving under difficult circumstances, having failed to get the club where it needed to be. Now, some of that is about the quality of the appointments, but a lot of it is about the conditions. A manager cannot build anything lasting if the people above him are constantly second-guessing decisions, if the squad is filled with players who were signed for different systems, if the expectations are for a title challenge every single year, regardless of where the rebuild is at. Mourinho knows this better than almost anyone because he lived it. He had his moments at United. He won trophies, but the environment was not one that allowed for the kind of long-term building that produces sustained success. If United are serious about fixing the problem rather than just papering over it with another short-term appointment, they need to change not just who the manager is, but how they support whoever is in that role. They need to give clear backing. They need to plan for 2 or 3 years at minimum rather than living season to season. They need to build a structure around the manager that makes success more likely rather than less. Carrick deserves that structure, and honestly, so does the club. What should happen next? This is the part where we stop just describing the situation and start thinking about what the right outcome actually looks like. The right outcome is a proper contract offer to Michael Carrick with a genuine long-term commitment behind it, not a short deal with vague promises, not a stay for now and we will see arrangement, a real commitment that tells the manager, the players and the fan base that this is the direction the club is going in and they are serious about it. The right outcome is a transfer window where Carrick is given the resources and the say to bring in the players that fit what he is trying to build. Not players signed by a committee for a style of football that nobody has agreed on. Players who fit a clear and consistent vision. The right outcome is patience. Real patience. The kind Arsenal showed with Arteta. The kind that accepts that rebuilds take time and that the measure of progress is not always the league table in December, but whether the foundations are being laid for something that will last. And the right outcome is for Manchester United as a club to stop being reactive and start being intentional. Stop waiting to see how things go. Start making clear decisions about who you trust and what you are building toward. Because the best players, the best staff, and the best outcomes all follow clarity. They do not follow confusion. The Red Devils community deserves an honest conversation. For those of us who support this club through everything, through the tough seasons and the exciting ones, through the changes in ownership and the changes in the dressing room, this moment matters. We are at a point where the decisions being made now will shape what Manchester United look like for the next 5 to 10 years. That is not an exaggeration. Get this right, and the club can start building something that feels like United again. Get it wrong, and the cycle of short-term managers, confused squads, and wasted potential continues. Mourinho gave us something valuable when he spoke about Carrick. Not just an opinion, but a framework. He reminded us that winning big games matters more than looking impressive against smaller ones. He reminded us that patience builds clubs. He reminded us that there is already someone at Manchester United who has shown the qualities to lead this club forward. The rest is up to the people who make the decisions, and it is up to us as a community to keep asking the right questions and to keep holding the club to a standard that matches its history and its potential. Do you believe Carrick deserves a long-term deal? Do you think Mourinho is right that the club's biggest problem is patience? What would you need to see from Carrick in the next season to be fully convinced he is the right man for the job long term? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is exactly the kind of conversation the Red Devils transfer hub was built for. Outro. The clock is ticking and United cannot afford another wrong turn. Football moves fast. Contract situations get resolved one way or another, whether clubs are ready or not. If Manchester United take too long to make a decision about Carrick, the decision will eventually get made for them, either by Carrick himself if he gets frustrated and looks elsewhere, or by circumstances that push the club into making yet another rushed appointment. The window to do this properly is open right now. Mourinho used his platform to shine a light on something important. Carrick has used his work on the pitch to make the case for himself. The evidence is there. All that is left is for Manchester United to have the courage and the clarity to act on it. Because in the end, that is what separates clubs that rebuild successfully from clubs that keep spinning their wheels. Not the money, not the name, not the history. The courage to make the right decision at the right moment and stick with it. Come on, United, get this one right.